It's against NCAA rules for me to pick them up at the airport and bring them to campus. They got to find their own way. So you may look at that, we may look at that and say, well, what's the big deal? A coach ticket from LA, maybe we do that all the time. I'm here to tell you we're recruiting some kids from some families that to get that kid back and forth 2 or 3 times a year, because they deserve to go home, to get them back and forth to campus is a financial hardship. And to get the to get the cash for a $40 cab ride is a financial hardship. And these kids don't work in the summer anymore. When you and I played, we bowled it out of here after the spring game and we had summer jobs. And in many cases, the coaches helped us find summer jobs. They wanted us to be working, staying active, and making a little bit of money during the summer. None of these kids anymore have summer jobs. They're working out all summer long. They are on campus, they're going to school, and they're working out. So the point is, these kids are in a position where they're vulnerable. Now, if I need money to get back and forth from California and I don't have money, who do I become vulnerable to? The boosters, the agents, the runners for the agents. I become a victim of my own circumstance. I'm an advocate that we should be providing these young people the true cost of the education. We should provide their transportation costs back and forth to campus. We should give them some money to pay for laundry. Yes, they do have laundry. There are certain essentials that you need to have and do to be a full-time student at the University of Michigan. We should be able to pay for that. That's called the total cost of education. It's not a stipend. It's not pay to play. It's simply doing what I think is right and legitimate for these young people. And that's what I'm advocating.
That was a $200 question. Okay, Wall Street hiring, firing, or Nostradamus?
Wall Street.
Wall Street. You have been a CEO of a company that did advertising in regards to newspapers. You were in the food industry. There are people out here who are in business, who are CEOs, who are major position holders in their companies that make big decisions. What's the difference? What kinds of lessons that you learned in your previous career do you bring with you to an athletic department? Because it has become a business. And I hear more and more the term branding, which is something that you never heard maybe 15 years ago about an athletic department. But you've brought your experience from Wall Street, basically, to an athletic department. You have a budget. What kinds of advice, what kinds of direction could you give to these people who are in business about principles, fundamentals that you found carried over from that experience to a much different experience running an athletic department?
Well, I've been on the job now for just about 18 months, and I can tell you, looking back over these 18 months, for the 22 years that I was a CEO of 2 terrific Michigan, at least I think they're terrific Michigan-based companies, I came to work every day and I tried to create a great team around me. I tried to empower and motivate them to accomplish important things and achieve lofty goals. I tried to stimulate and grow revenues. I tried to control and monitor costs. I tried to create a workplace culture that was terrific and high performance oriented. I tried to create profits that afforded me the ability to both reinvest in the enterprise in the form of capital investments and the like, as well as reward shareholders. For the last 18 months, I come to work and I do everything exactly the same way as I did 22 years ago, or for the last 22 years, except I don't pay any dividends to shareholders, and we take whatever surpluses we can create as a result of responsible management of our revenues and costs, and I plow them back into investing in our facilities and in our infrastructure to be better at what we do. We build a brand, we create an image, we manage information, we connect with our stakeholders. I don't see a big difference. This is a $122 million business that happens to be in the business of providing great athletic and academic experiences for student athletes. So our product is a little different than pizza. It's a little different than the coupon business, but at the end of the day, that's our product. That's what we come to work every day to do.
So the fundamentals of that success that you've had in previous 22 years in different companies doing different things don't change, even though it is so much different. You're talking about a football team, a basketball team, and 20-some other sports that don't necessarily generate revenues, and yet you've still got to manage the same way.
Yeah, in a business, you always have product lines or divisions that are more profitable than others, and in some cases, some are subsidizing other activities that are important for other reasons and our financial outcomes. And so none of that feels particularly different. The thing that's exceedingly important about this business model is 66% of all the revenues that we generate are associated with one sport. So, you know, when you've got that kind of a situation where one sport is such an important driver of your revenues and of your success, you know, you got to watch that really carefully, because we're not as diversified as a lot of other companies I've run in terms of the various revenue sources. You know, we got to make sure football leads the way in terms of the success of Michigan athletics.
All right, hiring and firing or Nostradamus?
I want to hear hiring and firing.
Hiring and firing. When we talked to you a year ago, you had a different football coach than you have now.
That's what I've heard.
You told us last year at that time that Rich was going to be your coach. You made a decision based on performance, based on a lot of other issues, and then had to go out and hire a new coach. And I want to relate this again to the Economic Club of Detroit, in the sense that you've got people out here who are in charge of hiring and firing. Chief executives who look for assistant and associate vice presidents who are in charge of maybe the most important module in their business. Talk to me about what goes into that determination that we need to make a change. And in your instance, every situation is different. And in this instance with Rich, and then finding that guy that is going to take over that associate vice president's job in the largest module in your company, and making sure that's the right guy, with other people telling you that there are 2 or 3 other guys that should have been the right guy, and you decided after the interview they weren't so much the right guy. Does that make sense to you? And does it make sense?
That's a long question.
I know, but hey, this is Jeopardy. You think it's easy to win $500 on Jeopardy?
Yeah, well,
give me a break, Brandon.
I've watched Jeopardy, and you're supposed to be giving me the answers, and I'm supposed to give you the questions.
You know, he's too smart. You can't get away with anything with this guy. I know, but that's we're altering it a little bit.
Well, first of all, the whole idea of assessing a coach, and I would put it broadly, we have 29 sports here now at the University of Michigan, and it's no different for any one of the 29. I mean, what you like when when you work like I do, I'm a left brain guy, you like metrics and measures, and there's I don't know if there's any other business where there's more metric and measures than there is in athletics. And so I had the ability with our football program, as I do with our other sports, to sit down at the end of the season and look at an enormous amount of data, some of which is out in the public domain and some of it isn't. One of the advantages of this job is I get a look at some things that you just can't see on the sports page, or listening to talk radio, or reading blogs, and I put it all together, and it tells a story. It tells a story, and we had 3 years of experience with the previous coach. That's plenty of time to tell a story, and we looked at a lot of data, and we got a lot of inputs from a lot of sources that are important to the program, and I made a decision that we weren't going in the right direction, and we weren't, and I didn't take a poll, because most of the people I would have been polling did not have access to all the information that I had access to.
But as a CEO and as an athletic director, that job comes to you. You're charged with that decision.
That's right. That's right. And it's a tough decision, because making a transition is huge. You to a large degree, you take the risk of, any hire has a certain amount of risk, particularly when it comes from outside the organization. It's expensive. It's cumbersome. It's to a certain degree destabilizing. You got a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids looking at you saying, well, okay, if he isn't our coach, who is? It's not something that you're going to do because it's fun to do, or because it's not without risk. You're going to do it because you think it's necessary, and that's